For decades, many believed that spiritual time was infinite. But Edgar Cayce made it clear through his readings that there are cycles that do not repeat themselves. There are generations that came only to live, and others that came to complete something. The baby boomer generation was not described by Cayce as ordinary. In his readings, it appears as a group of souls in the final stages of preparation, carrying accumulated experiences from multiple incarnations. This video is not about fear. It is about awareness. Because according to Cayce, the end is not the end of the world. It is the end of a cycle of the soul. There is a hidden pattern in the history of humanity that few people manage to see. Edgar Cayce, through his profound readings, revealed that certain groups of souls do not choose when to incarnate by chance. Each generation carries a specific vibrational mission, a purpose that transcends material existence and connects directly with the collective evolution of planetary consciousness. The baby boomers were born between 1946 and 1964, a period that Cayce described as a closing portal. They were not sent to begin a new era of light and prosperity, as many believe. Their role is much deeper and in some ways much heavier. They came to resolve old karmic debts, to complete spiritual contracts that have lasted for centuries, perhaps even millennia. Think of this generation as the guardians of the final chapter of a 1,000-year-old book. They do not write the next volume. They close the previous one. And that requires an inner strength that very few souls possess. That is why, from a very young age, many baby boomers carry a strange, almost inexplicable feeling. The feeling that they have already lived too much, even when they were still children. Cayce explained that these souls did not come only this once. They have returned countless times throughout lost civilizations, vanished empires, and eras that even official history cannot fully document. Atlantis, Lemuria, ancient Egyptian temples, mystical orders of India. These memories remain hidden deep within consciousness, even if they do not clearly manifest. Before we continue, we want to feel the power of your presence. Comment below with your name and the city, state, or country where you are watching from. Let us map this current of light and show how far our message is reaching. Write in the comments, and let us expand this energy together. And now, in this specific incarnation, the calling is unique: to close what remains unfinished, to resolve what has been left unresolved, to forgive what has not yet been forgiven, and to release what still binds the soul to repetitive cycles. It is not a glamorous task. It does not come with recognition or applause. It is silent, intimate, and often solitary. The weight that many feel is not weakness. It is the spiritual gravity of multiple cycles converging at a single point. It is the soul saying that the time has come to conclude. There is a type of exhaustion that no amount of rest can cure. It does not matter how many hours you sleep, how many vacations you take, or how much time you spend away from responsibilities. It remains. It is a tiredness that lives behind your eyes, that weighs upon your chest for no apparent reason, that makes you look at the world and feel an inner distance that no one else seems to notice. Edgar Cayce gave this phenomenon a name: accumulated spiritual fatigue. It is not depression in the clinical sense, although it can be confused with it. It is not burnout, although it may share similar symptoms. It is something much older and deeper. It is the exhaustion of a soul that has already passed through many lives, many inner battles, many losses, and many new beginnings. Imagine carrying an invisible backpack that no one else can see. Inside it are memories from other incarnations, unresolved pain, lost loves from different eras, betrayals that still echo through emotional vibrations, and spiritual battles that have left marks on the energetic body. All of this remains there, even if your conscious mind does not remember the details. According to Cayce, baby boomers are among the oldest souls to have incarnated during this period. They did not come to experience life for the first time. They came to complete experiences that have already been lived, relived, and now need to be definitively closed. Therefore, many begin to feel a growing disinterest in the material world. External achievements no longer bring the same satisfaction. Money, status, possessions, everything begins to feel empty, without real purpose. Not because these things are bad in themselves, but because the soul already understands that they have no true weight on the spiritual plane. It has experienced this before. It has had everything and lost everything. It has been rich and poor. It has been powerful and forgotten. What remains now is only the essence. And the essence demands silence, simplicity, and truth. Cayce said that when this weariness arises intensely, it is not a sign to give up on life. On the contrary, it is a call for final preparation. It is the soul saying, "You are approaching the end of a great cycle. Do not waste your energy trying to hold on to what needs to fall away. Use that energy to free yourself, to forgive, and to let go." Many baby boomers report feeling an inner loneliness. Even when surrounded by people, they feel that no one truly understands them, that they speak a different spiritual language from the rest of the world. And this is not paranoia. It is a feeling that comes from being on a different frequency. They are moving through the closing stages of their cycles, while other generations may be experiencing the beginning or middle of theirs. Have you ever felt an exhaustion that simply refuses to disappear no matter how much you rest? If so, please like this video. You are not alone on this journey. Something both devastating and liberating is happening in the lives of many baby boomers right now. It is as if the universe is removing, one by one, all the structures that once seemed permanent. Decades-long relationships begin to crumble without clear explanation. Old friendships quietly drift apart. Carefully built plans suddenly lose their meaning overnight. Edgar Cayce described this process with unsettling clarity. He called it progressive detachment. It is not punishment. It is not cosmic abandonment. It is preparation. Before a soul can make a great spiritual transition, it must disconnect from emotional attachments that keep it tied to the physical world and repetitive karmic patterns. Imagine trying to fly while carrying heavy chains around your ankles. It would be impossible, wouldn't it? The soul understands this, and that is why it begins releasing everything it cannot carry into the next stage. But for the human mind, this process is painful because we become attached. We become attached to people, to memories, to the roles we have played, and to versions of ourselves that no longer exist. When these things begin to disappear, we feel as though we are losing everything. Marriages that once appeared stable enter periods of crisis. Children become emotionally distant. Careers that once defined our identity lose their importance. The physical body begins showing signs of fatigue that were not present before. Everything seems to work together to dismantle life as it once was. And the truth, according to Cayce, is that this process is not happening against you, but for your release. Everything that falls away at this stage of life falls away because it has completed its purpose. There is no reason to cling to it. There is no reason to fight to preserve what has already fulfilled its role. The soul is being prepared for something greater, and for that, it must become free. Think of a snake shedding its skin. The process is uncomfortable. The old skin must crack, peel away, and be left behind. If the snake tries to hold on to its old skin, it cannot breathe. It cannot grow. It cannot move forward. The same happens with the soul. Many baby boomers are experiencing this phase right now. They are watching their lives become simpler, sometimes against their own wishes. And although it brings pain, loneliness, and confusion, there is a deeper part of the soul that understands this transformation is necessary. Cayce emphasized that nothing happens by chance. Every loss, every separation, every disappointment carries a spiritual message. The message is always the same: let go, free yourself, you no longer need this. You are being prepared to leave. And leaving does not necessarily mean physical death. It means closing a cycle of consciousness. It means stopping the vibration of old patterns and opening yourself to a new frequency of existence. While the world constantly demands attention, while society celebrates noise and endless connection, something unusual begins to happen to many baby boomers. They start longing for silence. Not the superficial silence of a quiet afternoon, but a deep silence that allows them to hear their own soul. Edgar Cayce described this phenomenon with remarkable precision. He said that at the end of a great spiritual cycle, the soul seeks solitude, not because of depression or rejection of the world, but because of a vibrational necessity. It is as if the soul needs to disconnect from external frequencies in order to reorganize its internal memories. Many people begin to feel an increasing desire to distance themselves from social media, constant news, and superficial conversations. Social events that were once enjoyable may suddenly feel exhausting and meaningless. There is no longer energy for wearing masks, playing roles, or pretending to care about things that do not touch the essence of who they truly are. This is not social isolation in a pathological sense. It is a spiritual retreat. It is the soul saying, I need space. I need quiet. I need to look within and understand what truly matters. Cayce explained that this reflection is fundamental to what he called the organization of spiritual memories. Through multiple incarnations, the soul accumulates experiences, lessons, traumas, and achievements. All of this is recorded in the causal body, the deepest energetic structure of the being. Before we continue, if you are enjoying our content and would like to support our work and become part of our exclusive community, consider becoming a channel member. Besides helping us continue bringing you meaningful content, you will gain access to special benefits. Click the button, become a member, and join us. When the time comes to close a major cycle, these memories need to be revisited. Not necessarily through conscious awareness, but through vibration. The soul needs to take an internal inventory. What has been learned? What still needs to be resolved? What can finally be released? And this process does not happen through noise. It does not happen through rushing. It happens in silence, in contemplation, and in chosen solitude. Many baby boomers begin to feel an almost physical need to spend more time alone. They want to walk in nature without company. They want to sit quietly without feeling the need to fill every moment with words. They simply want to exist, without a function, without a role, without expectations. And when they allow themselves to do this, something fascinating begins to happen. They start experiencing profound insights into their own lives. Old memories return. Emotional patterns that have repeated for years become visible. Connections between events that once seemed completely unrelated begin to make sense. Cayce said that this is a sign that the soul is actively preparing itself. It is doing the necessary inner work for a great transition. And this work requires silence because it requires listening to the inner voice, listening to ancestral wisdom that only speaks when the outside world becomes quiet. Do not resist this calling. If you feel the desire to withdraw, to simplify your life, or to distance yourself from chaos, do not fight against it. Do not force yourself to constantly socialize. If your soul seeks quietness, this may be a sacred movement. It may be the final preparation taking place. Something unique begins to happen when the soul approaches the end of an important cycle. The boundaries between the conscious and unconscious mind become more open. Memories buried deep within the psyche begin to rise slowly at first, then with increasing intensity. Edgar Cayce described this phenomenon in several of his readings. He explained that when a soul is preparing to complete a great cycle of incarnations, it goes through a natural process of integration. Experiences from other lives begin to appear within present consciousness, not necessarily as clear and organized memories, but as impressions, sensations, emotions, and feelings without an obvious source. Many baby boomers report experiencing extremely vivid and recurring dreams. Dreams where they find themselves in places they have never visited in this lifetime but that feel strangely familiar. Dreams where they speak languages they have never studied. Dreams where they experience different historical periods with different identities, different bodies, and different lives. These are not ordinary dreams. They are fragments of spiritual memory passing through the veil that separates one incarnation from another. Experiences of déjà vu become more frequent and intense. You visit a place for the first time and feel absolutely certain that you have been there before. You meet someone and immediately feel a deep connection, as if you have shared entire lifetimes together. You hear an old song and suddenly experience a wave of nostalgia that seems impossible to explain logically. Cayce said these experiences are not random. They appear now because the soul needs access to these memories in order to close cycles that have remained unfinished. Imagine a book containing many unfinished chapters. Before closing the book permanently, it is necessary to revisit those chapters, complete the unfinished stories, and make peace with the characters who were left behind. Deep emotions may appear without an obvious reason. You may be living an ordinary day, and suddenly you are overwhelmed by intense sadness, unexpected joy, or fear that has no connection to anything happening in your current life. These emotions come from deeper layers of existence. They are echoes asking to be recognized and released. Some people begin experiencing brief mental images, fleeting visions that appear without warning, an unfamiliar face, an ancient landscape, a scene of conflict, or a moment of profound peace. These images are temporary windows into other experiences. Have you ever had strange dreams that felt too real to be only imagination? Share this video with someone who may also be experiencing these feelings. This is not madness. It is awakening. Cayce explained that these memories emerge to allow forgiveness and release. Perhaps you were betrayed in a past life, and that pain still resonates within your energetic field, creating patterns of distrust in this lifetime. When such memories surface, even subtly, you are given the opportunity to consciously forgive and release the emotional weight you have carried for centuries. Or perhaps you made serious mistakes in other incarnations. You may have hurt others, acted cruelly, or failed during important moments. These old feelings of guilt also need to be acknowledged and released. Not so that you can be punished again, but so that you can be forgiven by your own soul. This process is not always comfortable. Accessing these deep layers of consciousness can bring forgotten pain, primal fears, and old wounds that seemed buried forever back to the surface. But it is necessary. It is part of the final preparation. Cayce recommended that when these memories begin to appear, people should neither resist them nor become attached to them. Simply observe, acknowledge, and let them go. Like clouds moving across the sky, they arrive, they are witnessed, and then they continue onward. The soul knows what it is doing. It is cleaning its inner house before moving forward. It is organizing its internal records, preserving what it has learned, and releasing what no longer needs to be carried. There comes a moment in every soul's journey when all accounts must be balanced. Not in a punitive way, as if there were a cosmic judge waiting to condemn, but in the sense of harmony, balance, and resolution. Edgar Cayce was clear in stating that no soul completes a great cycle without experiencing a final process of karmic reconciliation. Karma is not divine punishment or revenge. It is simply the law of cause and effect operating on a spiritual level. Every action creates a consequence. Every choice creates a vibration, and these vibrations must eventually be balanced before the soul can continue moving forward. For baby boomers, this process is happening now, and it can appear in unexpected ways. Unexpected reunions begin taking place. People who have been absent for decades suddenly return to your life. Sometimes physically, sometimes through social media, and sometimes only through recurring thoughts and memories. These reunions are not coincidences. They are karmic opportunities. Cayce explained that certain souls create agreements before incarnating. They promise to meet at specific moments in order to resolve unfinished matters, exchange forgiveness, and complete lessons they were meant to learn together. When these encounters happen near the completion of a cycle, they often carry intense emotions. It could be an ex-spouse with whom you experienced a painful separation and whom you never truly released emotionally. It could be a parent who was absent and toward whom you still carry deep resentment. It could be a friend who betrayed you and who now seeks reconciliation. Or it could be someone you hurt and whom you have never been able to forgive. These situations are not easy. Revisiting old pain, facing wounds that seemed healed, accepting personal responsibility, and confronting destructive patterns all require courage. But they are essential. Forgiveness is the currency of karmic resolution. Not superficial forgiveness expressed through empty words, but deep forgiveness that releases the emotional energy trapped within the soul. Forgiving does not mean forgetting or justifying what happened. It means releasing the emotional attachment that continues to bind you to that situation. Cayce said that often the greatest forgiveness needed is self-forgiveness. How many times do you punish yourself internally for mistakes from the past? How many times do you replay painful decisions and condemn yourself for them? How many times do you carry guilt because you were not the person you believed you should have been? This burden must be released. The soul cannot move forward while carrying self-condemnation. And during the final process of reconciliation, this release becomes urgent. Some people experience situations that perfectly reflect old patterns. It is as if life is saying, "Here it is again. This lesson you have not fully learned. This pattern you have repeated through many experiences. Now is your final opportunity to break free." It may be the repetition of a certain type of unhealthy relationship. It may be the same cycle of control and submission. It may be the same fear that has always prevented you from making different choices. When a pattern appears so clearly and persistently, it is because the soul is being given one final chance to transform it. Cayce warned that these situations should not simply be avoided. They must be faced consciously, because only through awareness can the pattern truly be broken. Karmic reconciliation also involves restoration. Not necessarily returning something material, but correcting what has become unbalanced on an emotional and spiritual level. If you have deeply hurt someone at some point in your life, this may be the time to make peace, to sincerely ask for forgiveness, and to acknowledge the pain you caused. And if that person is no longer accessible, reconciliation can still happen internally through personal reflection, meditation, or letters that are never sent but allow the emotional energy to be released. The most important thing is the sincere intention to correct, to bring harmony, and to restore balance. There is a fundamental misunderstanding that needs to be clarified. When Edgar Cayce spoke about the end of a cycle, about final preparation, and about souls completing their journeys, many people interpreted this as a prediction of immediate physical death. But that is not the meaning. Cayce was not describing the end as something dark or final in the way we usually understand it. He was speaking about a transformation of consciousness, not the destruction of existence. The soul does not die. The soul has never died. The soul only changes frequency, dimension, and the way it exists. For baby boomers, the approaching end that Cayce spoke about is not necessarily the end of physical life. Although for some it may coincide with that moment, it is primarily the end of a cycle of consciousness, the completion of an evolutionary stage that has extended across multiple incarnations. Think of life as a multi-level school. You enter kindergarten, continue through elementary school, then high school, and perhaps eventually university. Each level has its own purpose, lessons, and challenges. And when you complete one level, you do not cease to exist. You simply move on to the next one. The same principle applies to the cycles of the soul. When a cycle is completed, consciousness does not disappear. It transforms. It expands. It changes its role within the greater design of existence. Cayce explained that some souls came to this specific period in history precisely because they were prepared for this transition. They had accumulated the necessary experiences. They had learned the lessons they needed to learn. They had resolved the karmic debts they needed to resolve. Now they were ready to move forward. And moving forward can take many forms. It may mean no longer needing to reincarnate on Earth because the earthly cycle has been completed. It may mean entering other dimensions or other levels of existence. It may mean becoming a spiritual guide for souls that are still continuing their journeys. It may mean integrating with a broader universal consciousness. What matters most is understanding that there is no end in the sense of absolute disappearance. There is only continuous transformation. The preparation Cayce described is primarily internal. It has nothing to do with simply writing a will, organizing documents, or saying goodbye to people. Although those things may be part of the process for some, the true preparation is energetic and spiritual. It is about raising the frequency of consciousness. It is about releasing heavy emotional attachments. It is about practicing deep forgiveness. It is about integrating the lessons that life has given you. It is about making peace with your own journey. It is about accepting that everything happened as it was meant to happen, even the painful moments, even the experiences that once seemed unfair. Many baby boomers begin to feel a strange peace slowly entering their lives. Not a passive or resigned kind of peace, but an active peace, a deep acceptance that comes from within. It is as if the soul is saying, "It is okay. I understand. I accept. I am ready." This peace does not mean that all problems disappear or that life suddenly becomes easy. It means there is a fundamental transformation in the way challenges are perceived. They are no longer viewed only as unfair obstacles, but as meaningful opportunities for growth and evolution. Cayce emphasized that a conscious transition is much smoother than an unconscious one. When a person understands that they are completing a cycle and actively prepares themselves, the process becomes more natural. There is less resistance, less fear, and less desperate attachment. It is like the difference between leaving a place because you know it is time to go and being forced away against your will. The first experience can feel liberating. The second can feel traumatic. Physical death, when it occurs within this context of expanded awareness, is not experienced as a tragedy. It is experienced as a natural transition, like removing old clothes and putting on new ones, like leaving a dark room and stepping into a place filled with light. And for those who remain physically alive while completing this cycle consciously, the transformation can be equally profound. They are still here, but they are no longer the same. They vibrate differently. They perceive reality with greater awareness. They are no longer controlled by the illusions that hold many people captive. We have now arrived at the most practical and urgent point. If everything described so far resonates with you, if you recognize these signs, if you feel that you are moving through a process of cycle completion, an important question naturally arises. What should you do now? Edgar Cayce was very direct in his guidance. He did not speak about complicated formulas, elaborate rituals, or inaccessible spiritual practices. His teachings were simple, yet profoundly transformative. First, embrace more silence. Create moments of inner stillness every day. Not merely the absence of external noise, but true mental quiet. Cayce recommended meditation as an essential practice during this stage. Not complicated meditation, but simply sitting in stillness, observing your breath, and allowing thoughts to pass without holding on to them. This silence is not empty. It is filled with the presence of the soul itself. It is within this silence that memories are organized, emotions are processed, and consciousness expands. Second, judge less, both yourself and others. Judgment is one of the heaviest burdens the soul carries. Every time you judge, you create separation. Every time you condemn, you create additional emotional weight. And at this final stage, there is no room to create more burdens. Cayce explained that judgment comes from the illusion of separation. When you see another person as completely wrong and yourself as completely right, you are operating from the belief that you are separate beings. But on a spiritual level, we are all connected through the same consciousness. What you do to another, you ultimately do to yourself. Therefore, instead of judging, practice understanding. Try to see situations from another person's perspective. Recognize that everyone is fighting battles you cannot see, carrying pain you do not know, and walking through struggles hidden from the world. Above all, stop judging yourself. Stop punishing yourself for past mistakes. You did the best you could with the awareness you had at that moment. And if you failed, that is also part of learning. Growth comes from understanding, not from endless self-condemnation. Third, release old guilt. Guilt is like an emotional anchor that prevents the soul from rising. Many baby boomers carry heavy burdens of guilt. Guilt for not being the perfect parent, guilt for career decisions that may have affected their families, guilt for relationships that ended painfully, and guilt for opportunities they believe they missed. If this message is touching your heart and bringing new reflections into your life, remember that every video we create here is made with care and dedication. Our purpose is to share spiritual knowledge, help people reconnect with their deeper essence, and strengthen this community of seekers. If this content has brought value to your life, imagine how many other souls may benefit from the same message. Here on YouTube, there is a simple and meaningful way to support our work through the membership button. This support allows us to continue creating thoughtful content, bringing knowledge and inspiration to those who need it most. Every contribution, no matter how small, is a gesture of appreciation and kindness, and it helps us continue this mission. But regardless of anything else, the most important thing is your presence here. Your attention, your comments, and your support are the energy that keeps this community alive and growing. If you are able to contribute, we receive it with open hearts and deep gratitude. If you cannot, your participation, your positive energy, and your willingness to be part of this journey are already a precious gift. Together, we are sharing more light, more compassion, and more wisdom with the world. Thank you for being part of this journey. May your path be filled with growth, learning, and a deeper connection with the divine. Cayce was clear: guilt does not support spiritual growth. It only prolongs suffering. What supports growth is awareness, learning, forgiveness, and moving forward. If you have hurt someone, acknowledge it. If possible, ask for forgiveness. If that is no longer possible, forgive yourself internally and commit to not repeating the same pattern. But do not hold on to regret forever. That does not honor you, and it does not honor the person who was hurt. Fourth, simplify your consciousness. Cayce used this powerful expression to describe removing the layers of mental and emotional complexity that we accumulate throughout life. Simplifying consciousness means stopping the creation of unnecessary drama. It means releasing worries about things beyond your control. It means letting go of the need to understand every detail through logic alone. It means trusting the natural flow of life. The simpler your awareness becomes, the lighter your spirit becomes. And this lightness is essential for transformation. Fifth, practice genuine gratitude. Not forced gratitude or superficial appreciation, but a deep recognition that everything, absolutely everything, you have experienced has played a role in your journey. Even the most painful moments, the greatest losses, and the darkest periods carried lessons that shaped who you are today. When you can look back at your entire life, with all its successes and struggles, and say, it was exactly what it needed to be, something begins to be released within you. A deep peace settles into your heart. It is a sign that the soul has made peace with its own path. Sixth, release the need for control. This may be one of the most difficult lessons. Human beings are conditioned to control everything: circumstances, other people, and the future. But control is an illusion. And when a cycle is coming to completion, the soul must learn to release that illusion completely. Cayce's message was simple: surrender. Surrender to the flow of life. Trust that the universe understands what it is doing. Trust that your soul knows where it is going. Stop resisting. Stop fighting. Stop forcing outcomes. When you release control, you discover peace because you realize that you never truly possessed complete control in the first place, only the belief that you did. If you were born in this generation and feel that something is coming to an end within you, understand that you are not behind. You are exactly where you are meant to be. Edgar Cayce made it clear: not every soul came to remain forever. Some came to complete, to harmonize, and to move forward. This may be your moment. This may be your calling. There is no longer time to postpone forgiveness, delay healing, or hold on to what your soul is asking you to release. The end is near, but not with the dark meaning that this phrase often carries. It is near like a door opening. It is near like a cycle completing itself with dignity. It is near like a soul finally understanding the path it has traveled. Prepare yourself not with fear, but with awareness, gratitude, and the certainty that everything had meaning. Everything was part of the journey. And now, it is time to move forward. If this message resonated with you, please like this video. Share it with someone who may feel the same calling. Subscribe to the channel to continue receiving reflections and insights that may awaken something deeper within you.